October 10th, 2022, Halfcast 359, episode 359. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? LAPD officer who died after being dropped on his head during a self-defense training exercise was targeted for investigating a gang rape by fellow officers, family lawyer alleges. This is definitely a blow for all law enforcement officials who want to be on the right side of history and are not afraid to stand up and hold their colleagues accountable for their actions. We need more of them in the ranks. This also hints at an underlying culture of cliques, good old boys, and sometimes even just flat out gang activity in law enforcement. A family lawyer of a Los Angeles Police Department officer who was killed during training is suing the city after he says that the officer was targeted for investigating a gang rape by his fellow officers. They used that training as a cover to kill him in retaliation for his whistleblowing activity, attorney Bradley Gage told NPR. Oh, you already know, leading up to this, he was probably getting all types of nudges and suggestions to just drop the case, sweep it under the rug, or look the other way. Gage alleged that LAPD officer Houston Tipping, 32, was assaulted during a self-defense training after submitting reports of a female victim who claimed that she was raped by 4 LAPD officers, according to NPR. He also said one of the officers who were part of the training that killed Tipping was included in the report, according to NPR. Tipping died 3 days after he suffered a spinal injury during the self-defense training on May 26, according to the report. It's just the feeling that nobody had his back, nobody was watching his back from any sort of retaliation in whatever form that it might have came, not wanting to get involved, just on the sidelines waiting for it all to play out. Elizabeth Rhodes, LAPD director of the Office of Constitutional Policing and Policy, said during a meeting on Tuesday that Tipping was role-playing as an uncooperative suspect and charged an unnamed student officer as part of the training. The officer dropped Tipping on his head, which, according to the coroner's report, caused a spinal injury, resulting in him going into cardiac arrest and dying 3 days later, according to Rhodes. It's way too coincidental. Somebody seen an opportunity to make it look like an accident, and they tried it. LAPD officials stated in their report that there was no video or audio recording of the training. How convenient, and that many of Tipping's injuries to his ribs resulted from attempts to revive him at the academy with a CPR machine, a Lucas device. Gage told CBS Los Angeles that the training academy's automatic CPR machine was never used in the room at the time of the incident. They were lying. So they said the machine wasn't used. The only other way I can see someone sustaining injuries to their ribs after being dropped on their head is if those injuries were additionally inflicted. The problem with that is other medical reports shows the Lucas device was never used. Gage told CBS Los Angeles. LAPD Chief Michael Moore said that Gage's allegations are baseless, according to KTLA5. He's made other baseless allegations in this unfortunate tragedy, Moore told KTLA. Rhodes said on Tuesday's meeting that the training scenario was not a mob attack, as has been alleged, but an exercise between two people. Without a video or audio, you can say it was anything you want to say it was. The coroner's office determined that this was an accident, as did the department. Rhodes said it was a tragic accident, and again, we express our condolences. Bradley Gage and the LAPD did not immediately respond when reached for a comment. What do you guys out there think? Let me know, because this sounds too coincidental to be an accident. Next up, Catholic church worker wrote 198 checks to herself and stole $451,000 in Oklahoma, feds say. God helps those who help themselves, right? You got a bishop in Brooklyn walking around with $1 million worth of jewelry. Maybe it's time to realign your ambitions a little bit. While working as a payroll administrator for a Catholic church in Oklahoma, authorities said Darla Bradley embezzled about $451,177. Now, the 58-year-old Newcastle woman has pleaded guilty to wire fraud and making and subscribing a false tax return, according to an October 7th news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Oklahoma. We're not talking about someone that's just taking a few bucks out of the donation box or skimming out of the bingo pot. This is damn near $500,000. Bradley started working as the payroll administrator for St. Paul. They were robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now Peter's not around. They're digging in Paul's pockets. Sorry, the Apostle Catholic Church in 2012, according to court records. Prosecutors said she began scamming the church in early 2014 and continued to do so through January 2020. In those 6 years, Bradley is accused of writing herself about 198 unauthorized checks and making 1,068 fraudulent online transfers from the church account, authorities said. One time is too many times, but like all other scammers, they get greedy, they get sloppy, then they get caught. Show up to the pearly gates with a negative balance. Overdue and overdrawn. How you gonna settle up? Bradley also admitted that in 2019 she lied about her income on her. Where the hell did they find this lady? She just hit the ground running, cooking the books on her 2018 U.S. individual income tax return from leaving out the substantial income related to the money she embezzled from St. Paul, according to the news release. Her defense attorney did not immediately respond to a request for comment from McClatchy News on October 10th. Bradley used the embezzled money for her own credit card payments, utilities, and personal living expenses, according to the criminal information sheet filed in federal court. Her disclaimer should have been: the views and opinions expressed by the Catholic Church is not my own. I'm not doing no confessions. I'm not going to mass. I'm just here to play with the money. And pleading guilty, authorities said she faces up to 20 years in prison for wire fraud and a maximum of 3 years for her false tax return. McClatchy News reached out to St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Church for comment regarding Bradley's guilty plea. St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Church is in Del City, part of the Oklahoma City metropolitan area. Next up. Man dies in stabbing when he returns to woods without enough drugs, Florida cops say. We're not talking about your buddy just sneaking a few fries out of the box on the way back from McDonald's. These are drugs, buddy, and apparently not enough that someone would notice that some was missing. A machete-wielding suspect gave another man who was living in the woods money to buy him drugs and fatally attacked him when he returned, according to Florida court records. See, listen, what's understood shouldn't have to be explained, because that machete was already telling him, don't come back without my drugs. And all of them. The suspect, later identified by the sheriff's office as Tyreek Brooks, 45, approached the victim in a wooded area in Hudson on the evening of October 5th, according to an affidavit from the Pasco County Court. Being in the woods alone with a machete-wielding narcotics enthusiast should tell you that you're making all the bad decisions in life. Rooks and a witness gave the victim $19 to buy them narcotics. No, the affidavit says you set that man up. Nobody sells $19 worth of anything. You gave him short money. And then when he came back, how the hell are you going to split $19 worth of drugs between 3 people? He did you all a favor and took his off the top. Y'all would have been at each other's throats anyway. Investigators say the victim left the encampment for a few hours and came back with the agreed upon amount of narcotics for $19. I don't think you have a say so in how much you get. Rooks became upset, pacing back and forth and yelling at the victim. He then hacked the victim with a machete, causing him to fall to the ground. According to the affidavit, he struck him a few more times while he was lying on the ground. According to authorities, Rooks then left the area for a few minutes, and when he returned, he noticed the victim had gotten up and was walking away. That's when investigators say he grabbed a steak knife, ran after the victim, and stabbed him. That is the type of passion and ferocity that only comes with a certain rock-like or crystal-like substance. $19 worth. After the victim fell to the ground moaning, Rooks stabbed him several more times, killing him. The affidavit says Rooks later told authorities after being taken into custody that he had buried the victim near where he was camping in the woods. The affidavit does not identify the victim. Hudson is about 50 miles north of Tampa. Rooks was arrested on October 9th and charged with first-degree murder. No attorney for Rooks was listed. Fun show, fun show, fun show. That being said, I'm going to wrap this one up, but I'll be sure to talk to you guys very, very soon. Adios.